Bismillah. Read. Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وعن عثمان بن عفان, narrated the authority of Uthman ibn Affan radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He said قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم said, من غش العرب. غش normally means to deceive, right? So who deceived the Arabs? لم يدخل في شفاعة. Will not enter into my intercession, right? ولم تنله مودتي, and تنله مودتي is the مودة and the ياء متكلم مضاف مضاف إليه, right? And my love will not reach him. رواه الترمذي, Imam Tirmidhi narrates this. وقال هذا حديث غريب. He said this is a غريب hadith. لا نعرفه means that only one chain of narrators. There are not many people narrating this. لا نعرف إلا من حديث حسين بن عمر. We did not know this except from حسين بن عمر, right? وليس هو عند أهل الحديث بذاك القوي, and he is not amongst the scholars of the hadith such a strong, right? I told you, inshallah, next year, inshallah, when we do Tirmidhi Shareef at the beginning, we'll give you more introduction to the istilahat of Imam Tirmidhi. But on a base level, what it means, he's saying is that there is only one person narrating this hadith. It's not such, so there aren't so many different narrators for this hadith, right? So I told you before that something similar what is mentioned earlier, that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an Arab. And after it's natural that if you gonna dislike the Arabs, you hate the Arabs, you hate them, you are jealous of them, then obviously as a human being, you will feel it. And if you feel it, and if you have, it will negatively impact upon you. And this is similar to what I mentioned. Radiallahu ta'ala who wanted to marry the daughter of Abu Jahl. Nabi Sallallahu got up on the mimbar and he said, how is it that the daughter of the Prophet of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the daughter of the enemy of Allah, they can gather in one house? Ulama they say that same thing. This was actually a mercy of Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, because if Hazrat Ali had to hurt Hazrat Fatima was the Nur and Nazar Licht and Jagar of Nabi Sallallahu, then if Hazrat Fatima was hurt, obviously she would definitely feel hurt, then Nabi Sallallahu would be hurt. And if Nabi Sallallahu is hurt, he'll have ill feelings for Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And if he has ill feelings for Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that will then affect his progress. It will affect his spiritual progress. Look at that word here, man ghasha. Ghasha, to please, to plot, to scheme against him, to hate the Arab because he's an Arab, hatred for him. And obviously, maybe sometimes you have an agreement with them to go against the agreement. Etc., etc. In Mustadrak Hakim, there's another hadith also which says, حب القريش إيمان وبغض كفر وحب العرب إيمان وبغض كفر. The love for the Quraysh is iman, وبغض كفر, and to hate them it is kufr, right? وحب العرب إيمان, and to love the Arabs iman, وبغض كفر, and to dislike them, it is kufr. فَمَنْ أَحَبَّ الْعَرَبَ فَقَدْ أَحَبَّنِي. Who has loved the Arabs, he has loved me. وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَنِي وَمَنْ أَبْغَضَ الْعَرَبَ فَأَبْغَضَنِي. And who has disliked the Arabs has disliked me. In Tabarani also there's another riwayat from أحب قريشا, that love the Quraysh. أحب قريشا فإنه من أحبهم أحبه الله. Whoever loves the Quraysh, Allah Ta'ala will love them. Right? And there's another famous hadith also, أحب العرب لثلاث, that love the Arabs for three things, right? Three things. أحب العرب لثلاث. In fact, this hadith will come later on. So, because as I said, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was an Arab, and to have any hatred for them, to have any dislike for them, that upon Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was feeding towards that person. Okay, read the next hadith. Okay, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وعن أم الحريري مولاة طلحة بن مالك قالت سمعت مولاي يقول قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من اقتراب الساعة هلاك العرب. رواه الترمذي. Narrating of the authority of al-Harir, al-Mawla, the free slave of Talha ibn Malik. She said that I heard my master, which was slave Mawla, right, Yaqulu, he was saying that قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, that Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said, من اقتراب الساعة. اقترب يقترب. Comes from the Quran in the surah, اقتربت الساعة وانشق القمر, right? من اقتراب الساعة هلاك العرب. From the signs of the closest of Qiyamah, Halakul Arabi is the destruction of the Arabs. Rawat Tirmidhi, Imam Tirmidhi narrates this particular riwayat. So now, when we think about success and we think about destruction, me and you, maybe we only think in terms of material things, that if a person, when me and you, we see a person is driving a nice car, we got a nice job, we got a nice house, we think, hey, that is success, right? But that is temporal success, right? When you close your eyes, that doesn't mean anything, right? Real success is what? Is Iman, A'mal, etc., etc. So today, if you look at the Arabs, you see they have phenomenal wealth. They have phenomenal wealth. Allah Ta'ala has blessed them with phenomenal resources. So does that mean they are successful? Now, what is happening? We know for a fact they are moving away more from deen. They are maybe progressing with regards to worldly things, worldly developments, etc., etc. If you look at in Arabia, they want to build the Neom city. What's called Neom city? They say this is the most ambitious building project ever in the history of man. What they say, it is the most ambitious building project never in the history of mankind ever built such a structure. It's a whole city. It's called the line. It's going to be one city, long line. You'll have everything on its own. So we think about worldly success, but in terms of Sharia, if with that success comes a moving away from the teachings of the Quran, teachings away from the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then that is destruction. So if you look at what is happening in the Holy Lands nowadays, the fisk, the fujur, the concerts, the music, I tell you, now it's already officially promulgated in over 600 venues in Saudi Arabia. What will happen? Alcohol will be available to the visitors. So it's under the guise and the pretext that this is for the tourists. So by the international hotels, they will have it. So I told you, when we speak about destruction, we don't speak about worldly destruction, because worldly destruction is temporal. But we speak about ukhrawi, spiritual condemnation, spiritual ruin. So min iqtirab is from the signs of Qiyamah is halakul Arab. And this year, you people know, we discussed this before. One is you get the major signs, and one is you get your minor signs. Just for your information, that from the advent of Nabi Sallallahu see Qiyamah couldn't come until Nabi Sallallahu don't come, right? Because obviously he's the last Nabi. So that's why ulama explain that the first minor sign of Qiyamah is what? The first minor sign of Qiyamah was what? The bi'asat of Rasulullah Sallallahu. Then the major signs start with the Mahdi, right? So this year would be then from the minor signs. That so you can add this here min iqtirabis sati ahlakul Arab, from amongst the minor signs of Qiyamah. It will be the destruction of the Arabs, and I told you maybe they are prospering in worldly matters, but with regards to spiritual matters. And then I mean, if you look at another angle, another spin to the whole thing, if you look at what is happening today, I mean, in Gaza, I mean, they are starving, they are brutalizing, they are genociding the Muslims, right? And around them, you got 100 million Arabs, and they can do nothing, absolutely nothing about it. Isn't that destruction? What is that? What is that? That is total destruction. Read the next riwayat, inshallah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وعن أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله الملك في قريش change a page, you change a page. والقضاء في الأنصار والأذان في الحبشة والأمانة في الأزد في الأزد في الأزد يعني اليمن. وفي رواية موقوفا وفي رواية رواه الترمذي وقال هذا أصح, right? The right now authority of Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala, he said Rasulullah said Al-Mulku fi Qurayshin, that leadership should be amongst the Quraysh. We discussed this in detail. We told you that some ulama, we discussed that some ulama say that if a non-Qurayshi is elected as a Khalifa, it's not even valid, right? Other ulama said no, it is valid, but the ideal thing is that the leaders must be from the Quraysh. The ideal thing is that the leaders must be from the Quraysh. Remember, that's why there is a book. We must try to get the whole of this book. It's written by one alim, one scholar, saying why the Khilafat of the Dawlat Uthmaniyya. Remember that the Ottoman Empire, they ruled the Muslim world for 600 years. So why it was correct? Remember when the Umayyads had become very, very weak, then they themselves and the Ottomans were on the rise. So they themselves handed over the Khilafat to the Ottomans. In fact, they even handed the relics. I always wonder how come if you go to Topkapi Museum in Turkey, Allah Ta'ala take you go to see one day, they've got all the relics there. They got the flag of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They got the Quran of Uthman radiallahu ta'ala when he was reading Quran and he was martyred, and the blood is there. They got the Jubba of Hazrat Hussein or the Hassan. I always wonder how did all these relics come to the Ottomans. So this is what it was, that when they were naturally becoming weak, the Umayyads were becoming weak, and the Ottomans were rising. So they handed over everything to them. So with regards to the validity of the Ottoman Empire, I tell you that the opinion is that some ulama say the hadith means that look, it's best to have the Quraysh as the leaders, etc., etc. But it doesn't mean if a non-Qurayshi is his rulership is not valid, right? So that's the first thing the hadith is saying there, right? Al-mulku fi Quraysh. I gave you the full explanation there. So maybe what you could say is like this, like, sometimes some people are good in certain things, right? Like maybe, you get certain people, they're very good in admin, they know how to organize files, they know how to, like, you get certain people naturally keep recording. So it doesn't mean that if somebody else does their job, it's not valid. It just means that, look here, this is the type of people for the job. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe you get some people, one family, just simple example, crude example to understand. They're very good soccer players, like, to say, this guys, you want a soccer player, get from this family here because they're good soccer players. So it mean so that's one explanation. Look, if you look at the Quraysh, they have got naturally leadership qualities. They're natural born leaders, so to say. So right, that's why I told you that at Saqifa Banu Sa'ida, that is when after Nabi Sam passed away, when the Ansar, etc., gathered there to elect the Khalifa, then as Umar came and said, Al-A'immatu min al-Quraysh, and I gave you the explanations. Then, wala qada'u fil Ansari, then qada means like uh, to be a qazi, to dispense justice and the official position in Islamic country. So yeah, what would mean is that these people, the Ansar, they are good at being qazis. They have a natural knack, they have natural talent for dispensing justice. Hence, we see as Mu'adh ibn Jabal, he was sent to Yemen as a qazi, he was an Ansari. Then the becomes well adhan fil habshati. Adhan should be from the people of Africa. Normally, people of Africa they have loud voices, all right, which is good to make them the muazzin, as a Bilal, etc. was from Africa. Then Nabi Sallallahu wal amanatu fil azdi, the trustworthiness is from the Azd. So Az was a famous tribe from Yemen, right? It was from a tribe from Yemen, so as these people were, so to say, very trustworthy people. So wal amanatu fil azdi يعني اليمن وفي رواية موقوفا, right? What this means here, Mawquf, Mawquf is where a Sahabi narrates something, but he doesn't attribute it to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He projects it as his own kalam. So they're saying there, in one riwayat, there's another riwayat where Abu Huraira, he mentioned this as his own kalam, as his own observation. He mentioned it as his own observation. He never mentioned it as He never mentioned it as what? As the speech of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, right? And وقال هذا أصح, and that seemed to be the most preferred thing, that it was the speech of who? The speech of Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, but not the speech of Hazrat of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Read the next riwayat. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. عن عبد الله بن مطيع عن أبيه قال سمعت الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول يوم فتح مكة لا يقتل قرشي قرشي صبرا بعد هذا اليوم إلى يوم القيامة. رواه مسلم. Let's look at the literal translation first. Narrating the authority of Abdullah ibn Muti, and he in turn narrates from his father. He said, I heard Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying, يقول يوم فتح مكة, on the day of Fatih Makkah, that لا يقتل قرشي صبرا, that a Qurayshi will not be killed. لا يقتل قرشي صبرا, right? A sabran literally translates here while he's making sabr. He's not retaliating, so to say. So, like in other words, in simple words, that means like how you say, when it's easy to kill somebody, easy to say, like a lamb to the slaughterhouse, because normally a lamb is a very, very docile animal. It's not a very aggressive animal. It's not like a goat or something to fight. So when you want to speak about something being docile, say like a lamb to the slaughterhouse. So لا يقتل قرشي صبرا, that today, after Fatih Makkah, no Qurayshi will be killed like that, right? Sabran, right? بعد هذا اليوم, after this day, إلى يوم القيامة, until the day of Qiyamah. رواه مسلم, Imam Muslim narrates this particular riwayat. Some ulama say that Nafi is in the meaning of Nahi. You know, like how I tell you, like sometimes your father will tell you, look here, you are not going to go to that place anymore. You are not going to go to that place anymore. Right? So it seems like it is ikhbar. It seems like he's giving you information. But actually, he's telling you, look here, you're not allowed to go to this place anymore. He's telling you, you are not allowed. So some ulama say here that the nafi is the meaning of nahi. The nafi is in the meaning of a nahi, that nobody is allowed to kill a Qurayshi after this, right? The Qurayshis must be respected, right? Mullah Ali Qari, the famous, the main sharih of Mishkaat al-Masabih, he says, no, this is not what it means. He said this was actually a prediction from Rasulullah. It was a that now, since the, so he said this is prediction means that since, remember, the with Fatih Makkah, the last of the Quraysh had accepted Islam. They were last stronghold. So what it means is this, that now that the Quraysh have accepted Islam and they have become Muslim, they will not become murtad. They will not become murtad. So there will be no need to fight them. When a person is a non-Muslim, obviously you have to make jihad against them. When a person becomes murtad in an Islamic country, you will kill him. There's a hadith, man baddala deenahu faqtuluhu, right? That person who changes his deen, you must kill him. So this is a prediction from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that now that the Qurayshis, the last stronghold of the Quraysh, it is capitulated. Abu Sufyan, the arch enemies of Islam, they've now also accepted Islam and they've become Muslim, etc., etc. Firstly, they don't need to fight them because now they are Muslim. You don't make jihad against Muslim. Right with the prediction that they are now Muslim, so you won't make jihad against them. Or it could mean also this, as I told you, that they will not become murtad, because when a person becomes murtad, you imprison him, you present Islam to him, and then if he refuses to accept Islam, then you kill him, etc. Right? It's a prediction that they will not go back to kufr. You understood? Okay, so that okay. The next hadith is an interesting hadith. This is, remember we mentioned to you there will be a bit more detail. There will be a bit more detail with regards to the Abdullah ibn Zubair, that was the son of Hazrat Asma, sister of the Aisha Siddiqa. Yeah, you can read Bismillah, inshallah. Right. So here he's speaking about, remember I told you the story, just briefly. When Yazid ibn Muawiyah was elected as the Khalifa, this came, you've done this here in Kitab al-Malahim, right? When Yazid, remember, just briefly again, remember, as Ali was the Khalifa, right? Al Uthman was made Shaheed, right? Briefly. Al Uthman was made Shaheed. After Uthman was made Shaheed, right? Okay, well, you will know this, we done this in detail, but more for benefit for the online people. I'll do it more for the benefit of the online people. You will done this in great detail in Aqid al-Tahawiyah. When Uthman was made Shaheed, the same people that made Uthman Shaheed, they forced Hazrat Ali to become the Khalifa and they gave Ba'at in his hands, right? And then Hazrat Ali was very reluctant. But instead, despite the fact that the people that killed Uthman was telling him to be the Khalifa, but some senior Sahaba Ikram also thought he's the right man for the job, and they insisted he become the Khalifa. So he then became the Khalifa, Hazrat Ali. But at the same time, Muawiyah radiallahu ta'ala, he was appointed as a governor, so to say, of Sham, Syria, and the Levant. And he was well entrenched there because he was a very smart, remember, he was a Quraishi, and he was the son of Abu Sufyan. So he was very smart, astute person. So uh, he was, he was well entrenched amongst the people of Sham. So he told us, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, look, I won't give back to you until you do not avenge the death of my tribesmen. That is Uthman radiallahu, because they were both Umayyads, they were both Umayyin, right? So he refused to give back to Uthman radiallahu ta'ala anhu, right? So then he, you can say, remained as an independent sultanate there, right? So after Hazrat Ali was killed, we done this also in detail in Aqidat al-Tahawiyah. Remember the three people conspired to kill Hazrat Ali, Hazrat Muawiyah, and Hazrat Sa'd ibn Waqqas, right? They're only successful in killing Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, right? So after they killed Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, these were the mischief mongers. Hazrat Hassan was elected the Khalifa, right? So Hazrat Hassan was only for 6 months as a Khalifa when he decided what, what in the best interest of the Ummah that the Ummah be united again. So he made a deal with Muawiyah, and the whole Muslim world was again now united under one leader, and that was Muawiyah, right? So Muawiyah was in the Khalifa. Then he had a son, Yazid. Now Yazid, he was elected the Khalifa, and we discussed this. We mentioned that Yazid, according to some narrations, that some senior Sahaba Ikram even endorsed his Khilafat, right? Some senior Sahaba Ikram endorsed his Khilafat. But certain Sahaba Ikram were not happy with his Khilafat. In fact, there's a hadith that we done, you must have done it already. If it's not done, it's on our online classes. Muawiyah told Yazid when he elected him as Khalifa, look here, I can't remember the exact three names, but he said that, look here, I fear that three people will oppose your Khilafat. And he said one of them was because maybe these three people had strong personalities. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, and I think it's Abdullah ibn Umar. Nevertheless, he mentioned three names. You remember this hadith, Ismail? Ismail, remember this hadith? The three people will oppose your Khilafat. And it happened exactly as such. That Abdullah ibn Zubayr, he opposed the Khilafat of Yazid. And then he grew very strong and popular. And for a while, he managed to control a large part of the Muslim world until then Yazid first sent the army to Harra, right? And remember Harra, we discussed the siege to Medina, and then after that he sent the army to Makkah. But I think the first attempt he was unsuccessful to dislodge Abdullah ibn Zubayr, right? And then I think the next Khalifa after him, also under Hajjaj bin Yusuf, they laid siege to Makkah, and this is when they managed to kill Abdullah ibn Zubayr, right? So he declared his own independent sultanate, so to say there. So this is after he was killed, right? So this was after he was killed, right? Okay, read. So Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So you've got the whole, what we say in Urdu, past manzar, the scenario. وأنا أبي نوفل بن معاوية بن مسلمين. رأيت authority of Abi Nawfal ibn Mu'awiyah ibn Muslim. He said, رأيت عبد الله بن الزبير. I saw Abdullah ibn Zubair على عقبة المدينة, in one of the Aqaba, the valleys of Medina. قال فجعلت قريش تمر عليه. The Quraysh used to pass by him. Now, yeah, in the Sharat is mentioned he was strung up like on a tree or something, right? Right? وَالنَّاسُ حَتَّى مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ ibn Umar. So Quraysh used to pass by his body to such an extent حَتَّى مَرَّ عَلَيْهِ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ ibn Umar. Abdullah ibn Umar also passed by him, right? فَوَقَفَ عَلَيْهِ, stood by his body. Carry on reading. السلام عليك أيها الصبي عليك السلام عليك والله لقد كنت أنك والله لقد كنت ولا تفعل. Right. So he saw his body. He said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Khubayb. Peace upon you, Abu Khubayb. His body now. Assalamu alaykum ya Aba Khubayb. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Khubayb. Ama wallahi laqad kuntu ana hakan hadha. He said, Wallahi, by Allah, I used to caution you about this. And I cautioned you about um, rebelling against the Khilafat of Yazid and independing. See now what happens. See what your end is, right? والله لقد كنت أنهاك عن هذا أما والله لقد كنت أنهاك عن هذا عن هذا أما والله لقد كنت أنهاك عن هذا, right? Right, أما والله والله إن كنت ما علمت. So carry on, read from there, right? Right. So you say, look here, Ama, Wallahi, by Allah's qasam, in kunta ma'alimtu. I knew you as Sawaman, the person used to fast a lot. Sawaman, you used to stand in prayer a lot. Wasulan lirrahimi, used to join family ties, etc. You are a good person. You should have ventured into politics. You shouldn't venture into politics. You were an abid. You should have rather concentrate on your ibadat. Remember, I told you we discussed this in the beginning of the chapter of Kitab al-Fitan. There was two or three madhabs with regards to when the fitna rears his head. Some Sahaba Ikram said that you must remain aloof from the fitan. Do not get involved in the fitan. Remember, and they use those hadith that say that you must break your sword. Man ashrafaha istashrafahu, remember, etc., etc. And some Sahaba Ikram said, look, if you can make a difference in quelching that fitna, then you must get involved. So it seems, it appears from this here that Hazrat Ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala was of that opinion that when fitna rears his head, do not get involved in it. Right? When the fitna come, when there is political strife, when there is upheaval politically, do not give it. So he's saying, so it seems like Abdullah ibn Umar was from amongst those Sahaba Ikram who believe that don't get involved in political things unnecessary. So he's saying that you are in kunta ma alimtu sawaman qawaman wasulan lirahimi. You were an abid, you were a worshipper. Why did you have to get involved in the politics? And see what happened now, right? Carry on. Right. So, Ama wallahi la ummatun, there is a nation anta sharruha, you the worst of them, or la ummatu sawin, a ummat of evil. We'll discuss what this means here in the Shara. Carry on. And in another riwayat, what riwayatin, la ummatu khairin, a ummat of goodness, right? This we'll discuss it, right? Right. ثم نفذ عبد الله بن عمر. Then Abdullah ibn Umar left from there. فبلغ الحجاج موقف عبد الله. Then it reached Hajjaj, right? موقف عبد الله, the position of Abdullah. In other words, Abdullah ibn Umar, what his opinion was, the comments he made with regards to Abdullah ibn Zubair, right? Carry on. Yeah. So فأرسل, so he sent his people, right? فأرسل فأنزل عن جذعه, he was released from that date palm which was strung upon his body. فألقي في قبور اليهود, and he was thrown, he was buried in the qubur of the Yahud. This is what Hajjaj bin Yusuf done, right? ثم أرسل إلى أمه أسماء بنت أبي بكر. Remember I told you, as Asma, the sister of Aisha Siddiqa, then he sent to his mother. In other words, he called Abdullah ibn Zubair's mother, the one who had rebelled against the Umayyad Khulafa. He had his own sultanate. So he sent, right? He called her, Abi bin, right, come to me, I want to speak to you with regard to your son. See what his end was, right? Right. But and ta'atiyahu, she refused to come to him. She refused to come to him, right? So فأعاد عليها الرسول. So then فأعاد, the messenger came again to her, right? Right. لتأتيني أو لأبعثن إليك من يسحبك بقرونك. That saying you must come to me. لا تأتين أتى يأتي, right? لام تأكل بأنون كده. You will come to me. أو لأبعثن إليك. I will send to you من يسحبك, who will drag you بقرونك, by the flesh of your hair to me. So imagine what a person, this was Hajjaj bin Yusuf. He's speaking to the daughter of Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He's speaking to the sister of Rasulullah, sister-in-law of Rasulullah, right? So she said, but she refused. Waqah said, Wallahi, I take a qasam by Allah, la atika. I will not come to you. Hatta tab'atha ilayya ma yashabuni. Until you send to me who will drag me biquruni. That was the only way I'm going to come to you is you must drag me, you must follow out your threats. Like how we call these bluffs, right? So for, he said, Aruni, show me sibtaya, right? Show me your shoes. فأخذ نعليه, then he took his two shoes, ثم انطلق يتودف, then he went towards her حتى دخل until he entered into a presence, right? Right. So he said, Hajjaj bin Yusuf said, كيف رأيتني. رأى يرى also means like, what is your opinion? كيف رأيتني. What is your opinion about me? Right? صنعت بعدو الله. That what I done with the enemy of Allah Ta'ala, referring to his son. You know, he was killed. He was strung up upon a date palm. And then eventually he was thrown into the maqbara of the Yahud, etc. Right? Right. So رأيتك قد right أفسدت علي. I was in your kitab. Did they have? Right. رأيتك أفسدت عليه دنياه. I see that you have destroyed his dunya. In other words, you finished up his dunyawi life. He was living in this dunya, right? أفسدت عليه دنياه. You destroyed his dunyawi life, right? But وَأَفْسَدَ عَلَيْكَ آخِرَتَكَ. But he destroyed your akhirat. Why he destroyed your akhirat? Because of what you had done, how you have abused him, etc. He was a great Sahabi. He was like, so to say, the nephew of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what an ignominious end you gave him, right? وَأَفْسَدَ عَلَيْكَ آخِرَ, right? Right. So he says, Balagani, it reached me, Anna taqulu lahu, that you say for him, Yabna Zatan Nitaqain. You say it, in other words, Abdullah ibn Zubair was the son of the one of the two belts, right? Remember, Hazrat Asma radiallahu ta'ala anha, when the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam made hijrah, and they spent a few nights in the cave there, then she would take the food for him, right? And she would put it under her belt. Remember that day, right? So, um, so that judge is saying that you used to say to Asma, used to say to your son, Yabna Zatin Nitaqain, right? So as Asma responds, she says, sorry, I've got that one wrong. بلغني أنك تقول له يا ابن ذات النطاق. Asma is still saying, as Asma is saying to Hajjaj bin Yusuf, that it reached me that you refer to Abdullah, my son, as son of the one of two belts. Are you with me? You with me? So as Asma is saying to Hajjaj bin Yusuf that you refer to my son as بلغني أنك تقول له. You say for him يبنى ذات النطاق, or the one of two belts, right? Right. So she says, yes, you refer to me as the son of two belts. Yes, I am the one of two belts. You know, You know anything about these two belts, right? Carry on. Ana wallahi, Zatun nitaqin. Yes, I'm definitely, you refer to me as the one of two belts. The one of two belts. I'm his mother. I'm the one of two belts. Ana Zatun nitaqin, right? Right. As for the ones who like, yeah, it means like a belt or like a pouch or something. Like how you know when you go for Hajj, you have that belts. What's it called? What do they call it now? Like the money belt. You see, أما أحدهما, as for one of the belts, one of the pouches, right? فكنت به أرفع طعام رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وطعام أبيك بكر, right? I used to raise, literally means I used to take the food of Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم. In other words, you don't know who you're dealing with. You and Abdullah ibn Zubair is an ordinary person. You don't know about our service. Yeah. So the one belt was where I kept concealed the food of Rasulullah. وَأَمَّا الْآخَرُ فِي نِطَاقُ الْمَرْأَةِ الَّتِي لَا تَسْتَغْنِي عَنْهَا. The other belt was the one that a woman normally has. لَا تَسْتَغْنِي عَنْهَا. She is not independent of it. In other words, this belt, she needed to keep her undergarments up, etc., etc. Maybe like how, you know what the woman wear underneath, etc., right? So this is now the last part of the hadith is relevant to the whole chapter. Remember, the whole chapter is about with regards to either virtues or what's the opposite of virtue. What's the word opposite of virtue? Uh, the bad qualities of certain tribes. So this is now the relevance of the whole thing. So he says, Ama, don't you know, Inna Rasulullah haddathana, that Rasul told us أن في سقيف كذابا, that from the tribe of Saqif there will be liars, a liar, a great impostor, and we told that was what's Mukhtar ibn Ubaid al-Thaqafi, ومبيرا, and there will be a mischief monger, right? فأما الكذاب, as for the mischief monger, I gave you that, I told you is a person who rebelled against a Muslim country under the pretext that he's furthering, is avenging the blood of the Ahlul Bayt. He was successful to a certain extent, and he brought a lot of lands under his control. We done it, so we know him, right? But قد رأيناه أما الأبير مبير. But as for the mischief monger that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa spoke about, that will come from the Saqif tribe, right? He said, فلا إخالك إلا إياه. I do not think it except it is you. So you are a manifestation of what? Of the you are of the prediction of Rasulullah. See how much fasad, see how much mayhem you've caused. فَلَمْ يُرَاجِعْهَا. So he did not reply to him. Was, he had no reply. Right? Rawah Muslim, Imam Muslim narrates this particular right. Okay, so that is the main link of the hadith with the chapter. We've discussed this in detail. There's just a few words that we need to discuss, a little bit tahqiq on the lughat, etc. We will do that tomorrow, inshallah. So we will switch over now to tafsir, inshallah. Okay, so opposite the vice, you can say the vice of certain tribes. The Prophet spoke about the virtue and the vice of certain tribes. Allah Ta'ala accept it.